Good morning, good morning, good morning. How's everybody today? Can you believe we are at November 15th? Doesn't that seem crazy? We are almost at the end of the year. Next week, I will have the year-end workbook that we usually publish is ready. We're just waiting for Drew to put it up on the website so that you can download it for free. And it actually is for sale on Amazon if you want the actual workbook part. I have a bad case of I don't want to this morning and I don't feel like it. So I'm showing up anyway because I said I would. And I am honestly thinking of shuttering the show and the school and all the things because it doesn't seem like anybody's very interested in any of it. So if you are and the show matters to you, or any of it matters to you, I'd love to hear from you because I am just in a place where I've been doing this for 11 years and I am just kind of tired and I'm kind of wondering if I'm supposed to still keep doing it. So that's where I'm at this morning, being very transparent and yeah. So I'm showing up anyway because that is what I teach and I practice what I preach. So here we are. I wanted to talk this morning about, since we're approaching the holidays, and that can be an upsetting time for people in your relationships and in your families, and you are getting ready to go to, Thanksgiving or Christmas, and you might end up to be very reactive around the holidays. A lot of people have a hard time with the holidays, right? So I wanted to talk about what causes an upset and then give you some tools to break it down so that you don't have to be at effect of it. Because what happens is we get upset, we get into an argument with someone, or someone says something or does something, or we're reacting to something from the past, and that causes us to be unsettled. And then we end up being reactive, and then it ends up just turning into more of a thing. And I talk about responding versus reacting, which is a valuable way to handle things. However, I don't think I've ever really broken down for you guys. I might have in the last 11 years, who knows, there's actually an anatomy of an upset, like what causes an upset. And so when you are able to break it down and see what the root cause of your upset is, then you are more able to easily navigate your way out of it. So you might want to grab a pen so that you can write these down, because there are 3 things that cause an upset. They are an unfulfilled expectation, which means we're expecting someone to be or do some way that they're not, or we're expecting a particular outcome that we don't get. An undelivered communication, that's pretty simple to understand, something that needs to be said that hasn't been said. Or a thwarted intention, which is when we had a particular intention for the outcome and it doesn't turn out that way. So in all of those 3 cases, those are the root causes of an upset. So when you get into a situation and you are reactivated, if you understand that there's a whole framework that's causing that reactivation, you are more easily able to pick out the pieces and evaluate them and then prepare to respond versus react. Okay? So unfulfilled expectation, undelivered communication, thwarted intention. Good morning, Anastasia. Unfulfilled expectation, undelivered communication, thwarted intention. These are the 3 root causes of any upset. So if you walk into Thanksgiving and you and your brother start arguing about something, underneath what looks like why the argument started on Thanksgiving Day right then is one of these 3 root causes, because these 3 root causes are usually historic. unless you just met someone and you're having a volatile exchange with them, in which case there's no history there. However, what happens in that moment might be reminding you of something that smells like that in your history. The mind is actually a very complicated machine, and it saves information and it saves, frameworks from the past, and it wants to plug everything that's happening now into something from the past, which is why I'm always working to break the stories up for you, like break up those narratives and break up the stories that have a hold of you from the past, because it's just not useful anymore. Like, the past is not useful right now. It's not useful. If you learn something valuable, the lesson is useful. The discord and the upset that you're carrying from the past, or the hurt, or the whatever, like, none of that is useful, right? It's not useful in the present. This is why a few weeks ago I talked to you about reinterpreting, because in every moment we're a fresh being right here, right now. And then when things come to mind, if we're dragging them up from behind us, we're reinterpreting them in the present, right? So when you are going into your holiday stuff, which it's upon us, it's coming, and a lot of people have difficulty at the holidays for whatever the reason. And usually that is something from the past. Because if I just planted you with no memory of anything into the holiday season, you probably would enjoy yourself. And if you're not enjoying yourself, it's because of something from back there. And it's probably an upset. And so if I give you the framework to examine the upset, called an upset is caused by an unfulfilled expectation, an undelivered communication, or a thwarted intention. Now I'm returning the power back to you. Because when we are just upset and reactivated in the moment, we have no power in there. We have given away all of our personal power to what seems to be happening in the moment. And there isn't any strength in that. And the other thing I want to talk to you about, because this fits into being anti-fragile, right? Anti-fragile refers to something that benefits from stressors, shocks, and volatility, and uses them to become stronger as a result. Anti-fragile is different than fragile because weak things break, fragile and weak things break. Robust things endure, resilient recovers quickly. Anti-fragile, shatterproof, or unbreakable improves things, takes the discord, upset, difficulty, and uses it to improve and become better and stronger. Okay? Resilience teaches people to, navigate what's happening and then come back. Anti-fragility says, take everything that's happening and use it to be better, to be stronger, to make something new that is even on more solid ground than what you had before. So a lot of people talk about resiliency and being resilient, which is great. The step further is anti-fragility. Because if you're anti-fragile, you are taking everything that was meant to shake you and you are using it as food to get stronger. Okay? Resilient isn't bad. Robust isn't bad. It isn't about that. It's like one step further. Resilience says you can knock me down and I'll get back up and I'll be okay. That's resilient. Robust says I can endure your bullshit and still keep standing here. Fragile says, shit, if you screw with me, I'm going to break. Anti-fragile says, bring it. I'm going to take it and I'm going to use it and I'm going to come back stronger. That's what anti-fragile is. Anti-fragile is shatterproof, unbreakable. It means I'm looking at everything. I'm looking at these upsets, right? I'm looking at all this stuff and I'm like, okay, for the past 20 years, I've gone into Thanksgiving and I've been reactivated and upset and effed up when I leave. And it takes me 2 weeks to recover from being with my family. Okay, I'm tired of that. How can I use this? How can I use this as food? How can I walk into a situation that was formerly very upsetting to me or reactive to me or dysfunctional to me? And how can I dig in with that and use it to become anti-fragile in that framework? How can I use that to be shatterproof? How can I become a person that can walk into something that used to screw with me and now invite that and say, this is good. This is great. Bring it on. I'm going to dig in. I'm going to see what this is all about. I'm going to see what thwarted intention there is, what undelivered communications I have, what unfulfilled expectations I have. I'm going to see why when I walk into Thanksgiving every year and my mother says, oh, that's a nice dress. I mean, but you could have worn something different. And I go batshit. Why? Why is that? And that allows you to live in a different type of a question. Because normally you would walk into that situation, the relative says whatever they say, and now you're off and running in your mind and your whole thing is like ruined, right? The whole day is ruined. Used to walk into my grandmother's and she'd say, well, I mean, that's a nice dress, but what about that other dress? Or did you iron that? Or you're such a pretty girl. Why are you wearing that? And I mean, yeah, what I wouldn't give to hear her say it one more time, right? But when you're younger and that's what you're like, because most of our most of our families are dysfunctional. This is why I'm trying to have this conversation with you guys before the holidays approach, right? Because I want you to have a sense of humor about the stuff that usually hooks you, and I want to give you a framework to dig into it and do something different with it. And this works for any upsetting circumstance. I'm just using the holidays as a example because they're approaching and a lot of people have trouble with them, right? So, and these things that cause the upset, I see Anastasia's talking about past triggers. Like, these are the triggers. The triggers are made up of unfulfilled expectations, undelivered communications, and thwarted intentions. And sometimes you really have to dig a little bit to see, like, what is the unfulfilled expectation here? What is the undelivered communication? And it's not all three. It could be, but it's usually one. So, for instance, if I walked into my grandparents' house and my grandmother said to me, you're such a beautiful girl, why are you wearing that dress? Or that dress doesn't do you justice. Then my unfulfilled expectation is that I expected her to, greet me with enthusiasm and praise what I was wearing. And she didn't do that. And so, then you go through life with this whole, like, everything you put on, you're questioning, like, is it good enough? Is it good enough? Is it good enough? Is it good enough? And then that's how we get self-worth issues, right? Because we had relatives or people that said just a little something, and then we took that and we made it mean that we never wear the right clothes, or we don't dress correctly, or whatever. You see how it really gets, like, super convoluted, all this junk. And so I don't want you to, like, respond versus react and then just go on. I want you to get better from that. I want you to use that as food to grow, yourself. Because when you do that, then the next time that trigger shows up, it doesn't trigger you anymore, because you dug in and you figured it out. And that's anti-fragility. Anti-fragility is, I'm taking what was meant to knock me over and I'm digging into that, and I'm looking at why am I so upset? Why am I sad about that? Why am I so angry? What is the undelivered communication, the thwarted intention, the unfulfilled expectation? What's in there? And then when I discover what's in there, I get to reinterpret my response to that. I get to reinterpret the way that I'm going to behave when this trigger shows up. And that's anti-fragility. Do you understand? Anti-fragility is like, I'm taking all this shit that's getting thrown at me that is designed to upset me and make me angry and make me sad, and I'm gonna use it as the foundation for my new life. I'm gonna dig in and I'm gonna look at all this, and I'm going to realize that I get to decide. I get to decide. I get to say how I'm going to feel when I walk into the house and my grandmother, my grandfather, somebody says X, Y, and Z. Now, of course, they've been passed for a while now. But, when we're 20 or even 30 or sometimes even 40, or sometimes those of, even older, you still have a hook in your mouth from those folks, those relatives, those people, whatever. They still have you hooked. And they hook you, the trigger, that's the upset. A trigger is an upset. And it's usually from the past. And that means, listen, any upset you can deconstruct, even if it's a present upset. But usually, like, if you met a brand new person and there was something that happened that upset you, and you had no history with this brand new person, 9 times out of 10, the upset that you feel is coming from something that triggered you from the past, which means there's an upset way back there that you didn't dig into and recognize and pull the pieces out of, right? Anti-fragile refers to something that benefits from stressors, shocks, and volatility, and uses them to become stronger as a result. And again, anti-fragility is different than resilience. Resilience says, you can knock me down and I'll get back up and I'll be happy in the getting back up. Anti-fragile says, you can break me down and knock me over, and I'm going to use that to get up and actually be stronger when I get up. I'm actually going to be better when I get up, because I'm going to use all of this as building blocks for my strength, for my for my new foundation. I wrote a blog this week about protecting your peace and bookending your days. Here's the thing. When you're peaceful and you're grounded, that nothing can knock you over. And when you start to strengthen your ability to be anti-fragile, you are strengthening your ability to stand peaceful and grounded in the middle of any circumstance. This is valuable skill as a leader in your life in general, as a parent, as a mentor, as a coach, as a healer, whatever you are in your life, working on anti-fragility and grounding and strength and peace. Those are the things, like when you have that and it's unshakable and unbreakable, then it doesn't matter what comes at you, what seeming emergency or circumstance, or it doesn't matter, because you have an inner strength and an inner wisdom and understanding that you know that you're the author of the story. So no matter what it is, you know that it's figure outable and you can navigate it. And B, you know that you have the tools to deconstruct something that used to stop you or upset you. You have the ability to not allow yourself to get reactivated anymore by things. And that's really the goal. That's truthfully the goal of my work in general, my life's work, is to show you that possibility exists and to show you that there's no need to live your life in a state of reaction and upset and pinging around. There's no requirement for that. Your peace and strength and ability to be anti-fragile, and your ability to deconstruct an upset to see why it's hooking you, why it keeps triggering you, right? And when we reinterpret things, we can also reinterpret people. I'm reading what Anastasia is saying, that my grandmother sounds like her mom. Those older folks, they don't recognize criticism versus, showing love, or what, like, they're in their mind, they're watching out for us, right? They're watching in their mind. Their job is to watch out for us and take care of us. And they can only do that based on the framework that they have from when they learned. And most of those older folks are not on a personal development track. So they're not like we are. They're not learning new terms, new skills, new frameworks. They only have what they have. And so it's our job to reinterpret them, because there's a lot of freedom in that. When I reinterpret, if my grandmother was still alive, if I reinterpreted her, I wouldn't have to get upset by every time she told me that I didn't iron my blouse, or, I'm so pretty, why am I wearing that shirt, or whatever. It was always something. There's a lot of value in being able to reinterpret people as well as things. Older people don't mean to harm us. They really don't. They just don't have anything else to work with. And so they're only working with what they have. And in their mind, they are sharpening us. When my grandmother was constantly criticizing, the way I cleaned, the way I did this, the way I did that, whatever it wasn't good enough. My mother, the same thing. That's not straight. Love, this is this, this is this. They trained me. I mean, they did. I'm a OCD freak about everything being neat and clean and just so, and my appearance and this and that. So they gifted me. It didn't feel like a gift when it was happening. But now that they've passed away, or passed on, it is a gift. It's it's the only gift that they know how to give. And iron sharpens iron. If you look at it that way, like, that's what they're trying to do, right? They think they're helping. It's the only way that they know to help, truthfully. So have a sense of humor. Lots of us right now are caring for, we're caring for my stepfather. Lots of you are caring for your mother, and lots of us are in a place in our 50s and 60s where we're caring for the generation that's getting ready to walk out. And they can be very difficult. So if we can have a sense of humor about it, and if we can reinterpret them, and we can just know that they're trying to help us, in their mind, they are, first of all, they're doing the best they can with what they have to work with, right? So we want to reinterpret them into our experience now, and stop interpreting them from the past. We want to reinterpret them in a way that doesn't hook us, so that we can have a nice time with them in the time they have left, right? And that's part of anti-fragility, because instead of us being reactivated by these folks, we're using our tools to broaden our experience of them, so that it's a blessing and not a burden. It's not work for the faint of heart, by the way. So I feel any of you that are walking through this. My husband and I are walking through this, and we're about to go over there in a little while to examine Christmas decorations. Psyching myself up. Okay, so takeaways from today. Anatomy of an upset. 3 things cause upsets: unfulfilled expectations, undelivered communications, thwarted intentions. Responding versus reacting. When you get in there and, when you're reactivated, when you're upset, and you get in there and you break it down and you ask yourself why, where is this coming from? What's happening? What's driving this? It gives you a whole opening to be able to respond to it in a different fashion. And then that fits into this concept of anti-fragility, which is using these things to have us grow stronger and more wise, versus just being resilient. Nothing wrong with being resilient. Resilient is a good quality, but anti-fragility is a step above that, because resilience says, you knock me down, I get back up, and I'm good. Anti-fragile says, you knock me down, I get back up, and I'm better. That's the difference. Okay. So, yeah, Anastasia's saying she loves that I can laugh at this. What else is there to do? I mean, right? We have to take care of these folks, and and so we might as well be in good spirits about it. And listen, when we are a blessing, when we can open up the space for laughter and blessing and good humor, like, divine order can come and work faster and make things right. So if you're having trouble with any circumstance or situation, affirming divine order over that person, place, or thing or situation is a very powerful tool. So divine order is at work between me and this person, divine order is at work in this situation, whatever it is. Okay, so that's it for today, folks. For those of you that are in my community, I'll be hosting a goals group in half an hour inside the community, and I will see you next week. And as we get closer to the holidays, I encourage you to put some of these tools to work for yourself. It will likely make your holidays a little bit easier and a little bit more fun. Have a great week.